John Barrett with Level Up Your Leadership. I'm going to help you with visual leadership lessons. Today I want to talk about the hiring point. When do you make the hire to grow your team? I get asked this question all the time as a leadership coach. People say, John, when should we hire? And what I've found is this: most people hire at the wrong time. They're not doing it right because there is a philosophical, fundamental approach that you've got to understand about when you hire. When is the point to hire? In most organizations I see, they don't get this right. Because here's what happens in the organization. They've got a team, and you've got all these people that are working, and they're working really hard. There is a lot of pressure on these people. They are literally getting kind of weighted down with all the weight of responsibility and all the things that are going on. They're trying to carry it in the organization. And so what happens is we say, okay, we're going to make a hire. And so when they make the hire is usually done out of this word right here. Are you ready? Desperation. They hire out of desperation. They hire because it's gotten to a point where they can't even hold this up. People are getting drowned in this. And all of a sudden now they make the hire and it's out of desperation. The problem when you make a hire out of desperation is that it's not going to do much. You're never going to advance and get further along. You're just going to be able to get your head above the water barely. And you know this to be true. You've experienced it in your organization, whether you're on the team or you're as a leader or maybe an owner of the organization. When you bring people on, you don't see that you're advancing and moving forward. It just seems like now we're just barely getting our head above the water. Because when you hire out of desperation, meaning that everybody's so stressed that they've got to have somebody, it doesn't give you any advancement in the organization. In fact, you hit a wall right after you bring them on. There's like no room for growth because as soon as you bring them on, now you've just hit the wall. Now, yeah, you could lift this up a little bit higher with one extra person over here, but you haven't gone up very much because that's not the hiring point. Whenever you hire out of desperation, you've waited way too long. Let me give you the better point of when you make a hire. You've got a team and they've got all this responsibility of everything going on. And you say, okay, when do we make the hire? You make the hire out of this word right here. Design. Meaning that you've got vision and a plan to grow. Listen, you don't hire for where you're at. You hire for where you want to go. That is the hiring point. When you hire for what you've got, you're going to hire out of desperation. But if you hire for where you want to go, you're going to hire out of design. See, most organizations are not hiring out of design. They don't understand that we want capacity. We want to bring people on so that we can do more, not just carry the weight. If you just do that, you're going to survive. But if you hire out of design, you're going to thrive. You know why? Because when you bring that person on to the team, all of a sudden now, you're probably not going to hit a wall to way out here. And guess what? All this room right here, guess what this is? Growth. Your ability to grow. Because you've got all this room right here that this person can grow into. I always find it funny when someone makes a hire and they say, well, we must have hired at the wrong time. Why? Well, they don't really have much to do. So we're trying to figure out things for them to do. I'm thinking, what? You first of all, you've got someone with capacity. That's the greatest asset you could ever have. You need to load them up and get going with them. But here's where the bigger mistake is this. When someone says, yeah, we got to load them up. We need to figure out things for them to do. Figure out things for them to do as though you're just throwing them a bone out of desperation, out of design. When you bring somebody on, you bring them on with capacity. Remember, hire for where you want to go because that will give you growth. That'll help you be able to grow into the future before you hit the wall, and then you've got to hire again for where you want to go. And you move people forward. When you do that, you are going to be able to grow your influence. You grow your success in your organization. Listen, when you've got one person on your team, they can do this much, right? If this is kind of their level of capacity, then you've got somebody else on your team, and maybe their capacity isn't as big, but it's more. Now look at that, we're adding, you get the point. If we add another person over here and they've got this capacity and then this person here and down here we've got another person, you get the point. As you begin to grow and you begin to hire for where you want to go, you expand. Now look at this, look at what our reach is. Our reach is much broader than it was just with this person here or just with these two people right there. You get the point. This is not rocket science, guys. But listen, most organizations aren't doing this. When they hire on, they're just putting another person in there and their capacity doesn't grow because they've overloaded one person so much that really needed to be two. And so when they bring that other person on, they didn't make advancements and grow and expand their influence and their ability to be successful. No, all they did is kind of out of desperation, they've just survived. So if you want to thrive in your team, in your organization, you've got to hire out of design. Hire for where you want to go, not just where you're at. When you do that and you get a vision for growth, you get a vision of where you want to be, and you start to invest into that, make the investment. By the way, side note, when you do this, people always say, well, John, we don't have the capital. We don't have the revenue to sustain that. Well, listen, that's why most hires are always an investment into growth. The reason why organizations aren't growing is because they're not willing to make the investment into growth. They only do it out of desperation until they have to so that they don't lose team members because they're getting crushed under the weight, but they're not investing into the growth. If you don't start investing into your team and your organization to actually grow to where you want to go, you'll never get to where you want to go. You'll stay exactly where you're at right now, barely maintaining what you've got. But if you want to grow, you've got to invest into the future. What person would not tell you that if you want to be wealthier, you've got to invest in the right things and get a return on that. And your return should be greater than your investment. If you think you're going to grow your organization and make a bigger impact, whether you're in the business community, nonprofit community, whatever it is that you're doing, if you want to make a bigger impact, then you've got to invest in your team and in your organization. Guys, listen, I hope this was helpful. Go to johnbarrettleadership.com for all kinds of other resources. Get the Level Up Guide, where you have got group questions about this video, where you can watch it with your team and talk about where are we at? Where do we need to start making investments? How do we begin to distribute this so that we've got the right team out of design moving forward? You're going to have group questions, application sections, and all kinds of things to help you talk about this so that you can grow as an organization and be more successful. Guys, hopefully it was helpful to you. Go to johnbarrettleadership.com.
Reach out to us today so we can help take you and your team to the next level.